The area of the Bay of Bengal near India's coastline is a favorite destination for fishermen. This region, abundant in fish resources, ensures that no one returns empty-handed. The uninhabited island of Katchatheevu, which lies next to the sea, has been used by fishermen for centuries for drying their nets and resting. A boat with 16 fishermen from Tamil Nadu's Rameswaram had gone for fishing. During their work, they stopped at a small, uninhabited island to rest. Suddenly, the Sri Lankan Navy rushed to the spot. They arrested the fishermen, destroyed their valuable nets, and seized their boat. This was not an isolated incident. Between 2020 and 2023, the Sri Lankan Navy arrested 83 boats and 619 fishermen. It is common in every country to arrest those who cross maritime borders. However, this island and the surrounding sea have a completely different history to tell, a history of a decision made by our rulers in the past. It is a warning that may cost us dearly in the future. It is well known that Sri Lanka was once part of ancient India. The island of Kachatheevu is located in the Palk Strait, which separates present-day India and Sri Lanka. Specifically, it is located 33 kilometers from Rameswaram in Tamil Nadu and 62 kilometers from Jaffna in Sri Lanka. This island, covering an area of 163 acres, has never been inhabited due to the scarcity of fresh water. Despite this, fishermen from both countries have used the island for rest and drying their nets. Research suggests that the island was formed after a volcanic eruption in the 14th century. The only human-made structure on Katchatheevu is St. Anthony's Church, built in the 20th century. The dispute over the ownership of this island has continued between the two countries. In the medieval period, the island belonged to the Jaffna Kingdom of Sri Lanka. Later, in the 17th century, the island came under the control of the Ramnath Kingdom of Rameswaram. During British rule, the island was considered part of the Madras Presidency. The dispute over the ownership of the island began during the British colonial period when a British survey recorded the area, including Katchatheevu, as part of Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. The British representative from India did not accept this, and thus began a long-standing conflict. After India gained independence, the country faced several issues concerning the borders, both on land and at sea. Since ancient times, the sea between India and Sri Lanka was considered a single entity, making it difficult to define the maritime boundary. To address this issue, a crucial agreement was signed in 1974. The agreement aimed to demarcate the boundary from the Palk Strait to Ram Setu and resolve the disputes in the Gulf of Mannar and the Bay of Bengal. Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and Sri Lankan Prime Minister Sirimavo Bandaranaike held discussions from June 26 to 28, 1974, which resulted in the signing of this agreement. This agreement is known as the Indo-Sri Lankan Maritime Agreement. When the maritime boundary was determined, our rulers made a significant diplomatic concession to ensure better relations between the two nations. According to this agreement, Katchatheevu, which had been used for generations by Tamil Nadu's fishermen, came under Sri Lanka's control. The Tamil Nadu government immediately argued that this was a grave mistake. However, the Indian government did not take it seriously, as it was aiming to foster good relations with Sri Lanka. At the time, the then Foreign Minister, Swarn Singh, mentioned that although the island was given to Sri Lanka, Indian fishermen were still granted rights to continue fishing in and around Katchatheevu, along with their traditional activities. They were also allowed to participate in the St. Anthony's Church festival without needing a visa. However, things were not so smooth. The area around Katchatheevu was rich in fish and a significant catch of various species, making it a valuable resource. The fishermen's boats from Tamil Nadu were much larger compared to those from Sri Lanka. As a result, the Sri Lankan fishermen and authorities raised accusations that the fishermen from India were catching more fish than allowed. This seriously impacted the fishing activities of Rameswaram fishermen. While the agreement created confusion in many aspects, both countries moved forward with a new deal. The agreement was signed during a state of emergency in India. This new agreement had stringent conditions, preventing fishing without explicit authorization. The Tamil Nadu government raised concerns about the Indian government signing such an agreement without consulting them. In 1983, an internal war broke out between the Sinhalese and Tamil communities in Sri Lanka, which further complicated the situation. At this time, it was common for the Sri Lankan Navy to harass fishermen from India, accusing them of supporting the LTTE. However, fishermen from Tamil Nadu continued to fish in the northern coasts, which were under the control of the LTTE. By 1999, the power of the LTTE had weakened, and the civil war in Sri Lanka ended. After this, the Sri Lankan government imposed strict controls in all areas, especially over Indian fishermen's activities at Katchatheevu. Subsequently, many fishing boats from India were seized by the Sri Lankan Navy. There were several instances where boats that were seized were not released, and the fishermen's release was delayed. Numerous protests in Tamil Nadu called for Kachatheevu to be restored to India and for fishing rights to be granted again. The Tamil Nadu government argued that the international maritime boundary is just 1 kilometer away from the western shore of Kachatheevu, and therefore banning fishing in this area is practically not feasible. In 1991, the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly passed a resolution demanding the return of Kachatheevu. In 2011, the Jayalalitha government filed a petition in the Supreme Court demanding the annulment of the 1974 and 1976 agreements. This island, which India relinquished, was dismissed as an insignificant rock by calling it a non-strategic location. Today, it is the fishermen on both sides who are suffering due to this decision. Successive governments, focusing on maintaining good relations with Sri Lanka, have had the same stance regarding Katchatheevu. India's official position on this issue has been that the Katchatheevu dispute was resolved by the 1974 and 1976 agreements. In response to a right to information (RTI) application regarding Katchatheevu, the Ministry of External Affairs stated that no area had been transferred or relinquished by India in the 1974 and 1976 agreements, and therefore the region was never considered part of a demarcated boundary, making it impossible to incorporate it into India. The most effective solution proposed by experts to resolve this issue is for the Indian government to take control of the area, including Katchatheevu, under a long-term leasing arrangement. If any country, especially one with economic constraints like Sri Lanka, were to take control of Katchatheevu and use it for military purposes, it would pose a direct threat to our country's security. Therefore, a long-term strategic approach, considering the interests of the Tamil Nadu government and its fishermen, as well as understanding the concerns of the Sri Lankan people, is what is required. Jai Hind.